Descent into Darkness, a Call of Cthulhu campaign.
Hello and welcome back to Deathwatch's Call of Cthulhu campaign, Descent into Darkness, Season 4, The Lost City of Pillars. This is Episode 4, and I am Keeper Travis. The journey continues across ocean and sea for our investigators who find themselves embroiled in the greatest cosmic horror imaginable, high society. Before we return to that, let's get an introduction to our players and investigators. Note, John will not be joining us this week.
I'm Brandon. I'll be playing Bartholomew Wentworth. And right now I'm on a luxurious ocean liner heading to London.
I'm Chris. I'll be playing Charles Stanton, hunting guide and mercenary extraordinaire.
All right, so quick note about Mr. Thompson. You had understood Mr. Wentworth that he was having some issue with his luggage, the sole piece that he brought. They didn't tag it appropriately, and he'd been in the holds with a pair of porters and Mr. Thaddeus Grunwald trying to sort that out, and he apparently had had some success, but last time you caught sight of him, he was looking like he didn't have very good sea legs. So that's probably why you haven't seen him at this dinner tonight.
Yeah.
That you're at. So
Okay.
anyway, we'll start with you, Mr. Wentworth, the tail end of day 2 aboard the RMS Mauritania. And you have just concluded your reminiscing about Mexico to the others seated around you. You had been so caught up in reliving the experience that you did not realize the effect your tale was having. Other threads of conversation had trailed off, leaving you as the sole speaker. Having heard some of this before, Lady Waverly is the least enraptured, but catching sight of the spellbound small audience, she nuzzles close and rests a gloved hand on your forearm, perhaps hoping to share in the attention by proximity. When you're done, some other comments you hear around the table, like from Eleanor, who was the aging philanthropist. She says, I would almost like to vacation there, expertly described young man. And Harold is like, stunning. Samuel, the fishing boat captain, is silent behind his weathered features. And the man you hadn't been introduced to in the white suit says, now that is a hell of a thing. I don't believe I have introduced myself. My name is Bo Whiteman, with Standard Oil of New Jersey. I wonder if I might impose upon you after dinner. A few gentlemen and yours truly have been dabbling with cards. Would you care to join us? The stakes are friendly, I assure you.
And he's from Texas?
Yeah.
Yes. That sounds like a lot of fun.
Okay. It's like, good. And you guys finish up your dinner. Now, you do catch out of the corner of your eye that Lady Waverly seems disappointed at you accepting that invitation.
She's the past. This is the
This is the future. Okay, so the dinner, passes by with mostly just small talk. And the way the dining room for first class works is that it's actually across 2 decks, and you have like a well up to the upper seating area. And, those, if you remember Titanic, they had that double staircase sort of thing.
Yeah.
And then above that, they'll have, at the top of the well, they'll have like a smoker's lounge / music room. And that's where they would do like dances and balls or any events, So if you're at the upper level, seated next to the well, you can look down over your shoulder and see more people dining in there. It's a huge amount of space just for first class to eat in.
Right.
Everybody else has to
Yeah.
go down and eat by the engines or whatever. But when the dinner comes to its conclusion, he just says, come on up to the smoking room. That's where we'll be gathered.
Okay.
And when you arrive there, a few of the other, I don't know if you met all these people. There's a Dr. Kingsley, Edward Kingsley. He introduces himself. Doctor of Medicine, he says. There's a Pierre Dubois, a cook, apparently of some fame. Frenchman, of course. Samuel Clark returns. the fisherman, weathered fisherman, and this Mr. Whiteman are the people around the table. And it is a card table. No dealer, though. You're just sitting around the table. And, the dealing starts with Pierre Dubois. So looks like you guys are playing Texas Hold'em.
What's the buy-on?
Well, he said it was friendly, so we'll do $10. Can you play that much, Mr. Wentworth?
Yeah.
So you're at like a static, as the games progress, you're not really winning or losing much until we do some dice rolls. But you have a couple of options to play a game like this. You can, try to learn the tells of the people around the table, or you could do like sleight of hand to work some mechanics when it's your time to deal. Any of those interest you?
So like a psychology roll?
Yeah, psychology to pick up on tells.
Or what was the other one you said?
Sleight of hand.
Sleight of hands, you could have the opportunity to deal off the bottom of the deck or...
Palm.
Yeah. You can do an intelligence roll to count. Counting's not really frowned upon in poker. It's actually part of the strategy to know, what the odds are going to be for you to make a hand once everything's out.
Okay. Yeah, I might as well try a psychology.
Okay.
I got nothing to lose.
Mm-hmm. That's a good skill to have. Oh, yeah, you're picking up all the tells.
That's awesome.
So what happens if he can shut the fumble down or accept it, right? Or is that not in this?
That's not in this one. He's stuck with the fumble. You can't even buy them off with luck. Now,
I thought there was like a good with the bad on the fumble, though.
Well, they generally want people to always fail forward, right? That's the modern game design philosophy. But let me pull it up and look again real quick, because it has been a minute.
I'm sure you're right. It's just that usually seems like in the modern era, a lot of those are like, you fumbled, but here's something that you can try to do.
Well, in Call of Cthulhu, they want you to increase the horror on fumbles and failed pushes, and I'm like, I don't.
That's kind of an odd thing in this setting.
Okay, a fumble simply means that something really bad occurs, something worse than a straight failure. The nature of the misfortune or bad luck is at the keeper's discretion.
Okay.
But really what we want to know is if you can spend luck, which my memory is that spending luck can't buy off.
Well, I think you're right on this. It's just I swear I remember a lot of these where it's like you can accept the fumble and something bad will happen, but this other thing will happen that is good, like a character growth type thing. Or you just take or you can buy it off essentially. But I think you're right. That's it. My suggestion is he's accused of cheating and the person accusing him is violent in his intent.
Yeah, give me an appearance or credit rating roll, Mr. Wentworth.
Nice.
Okay. You got that fancy suit. So the way you're seated is you're next to Pierre Dubois, the French cook. And he's a heavy-set fellow, occupational hazard. But a young man, probably 5 years older than you. And you were just kind of glancing around, waiting for, people to look at their cards or whatever. And you're looking just, out at the smoking lounge at other people. But it does happen to look at your left to where Pierre is, and he's kind of looking at his cards, and he thinks you're looking at them. And he's like, Monsieur, how dare you? What are you doing?
I was looking over there at that buxom lady down there. Take a look.
Give a luck roll.
Ooh. Got what he needed.
Well, you're stretching the definition of buxom, but there does, in fact, happen to be a mildly attractive woman in your eye line in the port side of the room, right?
Yeah.
And he kind of frowns at you, but you can tell from that point he's keeping an eye on you. Right?
Yeah. Okay.
Calling out every little...
Yeah.
I'll just make sure to keep my eyes forward from now on.
Now, with your psychology roll, he has the easiest tell. So you could pick it up even without being an expert, because he starts cursing, you think, in French.
Oh, okay.
When he looks at his cards and things aren't going his way. Like loudly and, like flamboyantly. As far as Dr. Kingsley or Samuel Clark or this Mr. Whiteman, you can't really tell. So in order to, say, come away with some money for this night of playing, you would have to pass an extreme luck roll.
No problem.
That's what I like to hear, Brandon.
So how do you do that on luck? Oh, okay.
You could just roll it, and it will also tell you if it is extreme.
That's true. Sometimes turning the tabs on really messes me up because then I'm stuck in extreme.
Mm-hmm.
So, failure.
Yeah. Well, I'll just lose gracefully.
Okay. But there are a couple of hands where you can see him react positively, and you think you could win that one. But then again, he is still giving you the old stink eye.
Yeah.
Do you want to make a play on those ones?
No.
Let it be?
Let it be.
All right. So there's some comment on your graceful losing by some of the players. Pierre seems, I like this. Good. Good that you lose. Mr. Whiteman, on the other hand, is like, you gamble much, son?
Afraid not.
Oh.
Just with my life.
Well, I can tell. That's all right, though. We all had to start somewhere.
Yeah.
So, tell me a bit about yourself besides what you've already said at dinner.
Well, after my career in the Army, I decided to go to university, and so I'm currently working on my a degree in archaeology. It's a field that's always been interesting to me. So that's pretty much what I've been doing.
And is that why you're traveling to Britain?
Yeah, roundabout. There's an expedition further east
Oh,
that I'll be undertaking. Desert expedition.
interesting.
Yeah.
I happen to work in the prospecting side of things for Standard Oil, but things have been hard lately. Whereabouts you going? You wouldn't have room in this expedition for a specific set of equipment, few men.
What sort of equipment?
Well, 100 pounds worth of drill, generator to run it, gasoline to run the drill.
As a matter of fact, I would have room.
Oh, I like to hear
But
that.
I will tell them, like, people that undertake this particular expedition generally don't return. It's very dangerous.
Such is the nature of deserts, friend.
Yeah. Well, apparently this is the desert to end all deserts.
Well, then that sounds to me like a golden opportunity to find oil that other folks aren't finding.
Yeah.
A black golden opportunity.
Right.
Yeah, I guess you'd probably find the world's largest reserves of oil.
How do you know that? My master's a strange fella. Like, well, good. Let's talk about it tomorrow when
Yeah.
the sun's up and we can work out some sort of arrangement.
Okay.
All right, so we'll pause there at the end of your night and move on to Mr. Stanton at the tail end of day 2 aboard the SS Austerley in the smoking room with Captain Robert Anderson, discussing various topics, Anglo-Sudan and Cairo. At some point, your friend, Radmir Vanya, comes into the smoking room with another man, a small and attentive fellow, likely a serving man by your estimation, and sits up at the bar and gets a drink. Captain Anderson, sort of pitched low, and just for you, even though it's just mostly you two and the set of seats you're currently sitting and smoking at, he says, I heard a rumor that the surviving Russian royalty was staying in a hotel in Cairo. Talked about back home. I wonder if there's any truth to it. And he's kind of eyeing Vanya with some, what's the term? Like a perspective look in a way.
Very well could be. Displaced royalty flee to all corners of the world, I've found. And that man appears to be pretty soft. I wouldn't discount that.
I would agree with that assessment. He still, from what I've heard, things didn't go too well for those last few czars in Russia. Amazing a man like him would have been able to make it out. Seems if they wanted to get a hold of him, they would have.
Well, it seems like his bad luck continues based on the fact he's keeping his own kin in steerage.
Well, we better put a pin in it. It looks like he's coming this way. And sure enough, Vanya walks up to that set of chairs around a low, small table where you can, set your pipe or your cigar. It's got a nice big ashtray in the center. And he says, mind if I join you?
I have no objections, Captain Anderson.
So he sits down, and there's a lot of noise for him to sit down because he's, like Pierre, also a great heavy-set man. A lot of adjusting and grunting. But finally he gets into his seat, and he says, would you like to hear a joke, Mr. Stanton? And I'm sorry we haven't been introduced yet.
Allow me my forgiveness, Captain Anderson. This is Mr. Redmere?
Or Anderson, yeah. And then Radmere. Vanya. Right.
I said,
Gotcha.
okay.
Yeah, you got it. Okay.
We had the pleasure of meeting earlier today. One of my men and a few
yes,
of his
the
children
pleasure.
got in a little spat.
Yes, our boys sit down in the brig, and we are up here drinking and smoking, just the way it should be.
Hopefully a lesson will be learned all the way around.
I expect so. Anyhow, a joke.
Please.
Two Bolsheviks are talking. One says, Nikolai, after our great revolution, if you get two houses, will you give one to the party? Nikolai says, Of course, Comrade Alexei. If I get two houses, I will give one to the cause. Alexei says, Nikolai, if you have two horses, will you give one to me? Yes, comrade. The horses are not owned by me, they are owned by the people. Alexei says, Nikolai, what if you have two chickens? Will you share then? Nikolai, no, comrade. But Nikolai, what of our great revolution? Well, you see, Alexei, it is because I have two chickens. He waits a beat and then he's like,
I'll kind of smile, but
Perhaps something is lost in translation as I become Sean Connery.
Perhaps so. Maybe it's not a very good joke. He gestures to a serving man and whispers something to him, and the guy leaves. You can give a listen roll if you want to try to make out the words.
Yeah.
So you can make out the words, but if you don't understand Russian, they don't mean anything to you. But it does seem to be a short, just sort of dismissal, as near as you can tell by body language. And that guy departs the room.
the guy that
The
was
serving man,
okay.
right? All right. So yeah, he from his failed joke, he makes some small talk from that point. You know, asking Captain Anderson's business in Africa and whatnot, and his plans, which you learn over the course of conversation are to visit the pyramids. He'll be staying in Cairo. He's been seeing different parts of the world lately since he's been run out of his country. And there's like a little bit of backstory. He used to own a farm, but he curses in Russian and talks about the peasants ran him out. He saw it coming because his neighbor, they split him from navel to throat. I was not going to end up like him.
Few of us wish to end up as such.
My father always stored jewels and gold, and lucky for me he did, because we were able to get out of country. But mostly that's what it is, and and he doesn't really offer too much in the way of leading the conversation from that point. He's just happy to be around you. You think you can give a psychology roll.
All right. 10.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've met many men like this where the intelligence that is in their eyes has more of like an animal cunning to it, and you at least have developed this gut instinct not to trust that men like that will do what you expect, but you don't really understand what sort of play he's making here by sitting with you when you guys are at odds, basically.
Oh, Stanton, not to go against anything you're establishing or setting up, but Stanton's baseline is that this is most likely a intimidation ploy. That's just what he's going to default to. If you're not immediate friends or allies, you're probably doing some sort of power play, intimidating them or trying to.
But your conversation in smoke comes to an end, and Captain Anderson makes his excuses, and it also has become rather late.
Yeah, I'll stand and shake his hand or offer my hand anyway.
Okay.
And I'll do the same for Redmere.
Okay. Yeah, they both take your hand.
I think I shall retire as well.
All right. So yeah, you guys don't really have to go down into the hold anything. All your decks are up on the same level basically as the smoking room, so you're just heading down across the promenade into where those rooms are. But as you approach the door to your room, make a hard listen roll.
Oh no, nope.
Okay, so it is that you're shocked when you open the door to your cabin, and there is a young man, really a boy actually, in there, like poking into the cabinets and stuff where you might, take out what was in your suitcase and put stuff away. And he seems as surprised to have you arrive as you are to see him there. But not hearing him before, he does have a slight advantage on you as he darts to try to duck low and get by you out that cabin door. How does Mr. Stanton react?
Probably try to brawl him.
Okay.
Just take him to the ground, but it's so low, I could just throw a bunch of money in his direction. All right, here we go. Brawl.
That's what I was. Yeah, so you're just trying to get a hold of him to stop him from fleeing.
Hard success.
Nice. So he'll just try to duck under, get past you. Ooh. Okay, goes to the defender in that case. Or the dodger, I should say. So yeah, you had a good
I think
grab.
you're in GM mode.
Oh, did I whisper it? Sorry. Is there any way I could make that?
I didn't see it at all, yeah.
Dang it.
What did you get? Hard success?
I'll just re-roll it. Yeah. Oh, failure. Twist of fate. All right, so yeah, you grab a hold of the scruff of his neck just as he's about to dart by you. You would judge him to be 10-ish in that range. And he's like, oh, let me go. And he's got a heavy Italian accent.
I will refrain from using slurs on the podcast, but just know that they're there when Stanton speaks. Yeah, so I'll fling him back into the room and tell him to
Shh, stop your sniveling, boy. What were you doing rifling through my things?
accent sort of change there. That's not.
These aren't your thing. This is my uncle's cabin. What are you doing in here? I can't do it.
Yeah.
But he's like, oh, it's a high pitched.
Let's see.
But, his eyes are like darting every which way, trapped like a rat.
Is there any sort of way to ring anyone?
Yeah, from your room. Yeah. Definitely, because you can ring for like service and stuff. Yeah.
All right. I'll close the door and I'll make like I'm going over to that.
Okay.
Unfortunately for you, this is my cabin, and I know that for a fact.
He's like, okay, look. And he pulls a couple of rings and like a necklace from his pocket. And he's like, I can give you these. They're my aunt's. I'm sorry to have disturbed your room, sir.
Of course they are. Which cabin did she dwell in?
Well, first off, one is like a heavy man's ring and whatnot. And he's like, she's down in steerage. Anyhow, you get picked up on the line.
I'm trying to think if I think Stanton does have a bit of sympathy for him because Stanton was probably in that situation once when he was about that kid's age. But Stanton also got kicked when he was,
right.
The world kicked him when he was down. So it probably will strengthen the boy to get thrown overboard by the ship's security.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Hello, this is Charles Stanton, room, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Found a sneak thief in my room rifling through my things. Looks like he has a good deal of other people's jewelry as well on him.
Yeah, so all this stuff is centralized in what they call the Macroni room, the radio room, basically. So they're like, okay, we'll send a ship's officer down, and you have a few minutes wait before one comes to your door and taps at the door.
Yeah.
So, boy, what exactly has brought you to thieving on a cruise line? In this section of the world, no less. They cut off thieves' hands in this part of the world.
He's like, what? That's not true. That's just in old stories.
It's not so old, my boy.
Well, things were getting a little tough where I was from. I was just trying to get to a new place.
I was like you once when
expand my horizons.
I understand that very well, and I was once like you.
All right, so yeah, there was that tap on the door.
Come in.
Okay, and he's Officer Simpson, sir. What seems to be the problem?
Here's our young sneak thief.
He kind of eyes him up and down with like a shrewd eye, and he's like, well, come on then, boy. Who are you with? Where's your boarding pass? And he looks very alarmed at that. He's like, I don't have one. Don't cut my hand off, please. He's like, we're not going to cut your hand off, son, but are you supposed to be on this ship? If you don't have a boarding pass, you'll just have to wait in the brig until we get to wherever we're going. Is that agreeable to you, Mr. Stanton?
100%. Lessons need to be learned.
And he's like, well, come along then, ruffian. And he, grabs him by the scruff and starts marching him out of your cabin. The kid, gives you one last fearful glance before disappearing around the corner. Likely he didn't hear any of the assurances from the officer and is still expecting your threat to be made true at some future point. But a cursory glance at your things, you find it all seems to be intact. I didn't really take you for the man who had the sorts of things he would like to put in his pocket, much to begin with.
Yeah, like, I don't think he'd travel with any of that stuff. That's for staying at home or busting out for parties or something.
I should have shot him.
Just trying to give you an opportunity to shoot a kid. Quick draw. Do you even carry like a pistol, though?
He's got a 1911 that he's been practicing with, but it's not his
as
main
good as
go-to.
the other ones.
Yeah. What I should have done is I should have got a stagecoach.
Yeah.
Just a double barrel sawed off as short as it can go.
All right. So that will end up day 3 of the journey. You guys sleep and a new day dawns. Again, Mr. Wentworth, you hear or see Mr. Thompson trying to gain his sea legs, but to no effect.
I'll sneak up behind him and toss him overboard.
Okay. You don't even need to make a roll.
Because he's not here. Yeah. Oh, by the way, John.
But you are accosted early that morning by none other than Lady Margaret Waverly.
Perfect. Now this is where I start to play hard to get.
Okay. Well, she's asking that, of course, there's a dance after dinner tonight. Would you attend me?
I do. I have some other requests for just such a thing. I hadn't heard of this dance. When is it?
Tonight after dinner.
Well, I have a lot going on today, but I shall let you know.
Oh, come now. What else could you be doing at that time?
Nothing.
Mr. Wentworth, you must work on your...
She knows about the card game, so just say you're having another game of cards with the boys.
That Mr. Whiteman is trying to engage me in losing more money to him.
All right. So, yeah, she doesn't take it well. She's like, boys in their games. And she
and then now
stalks off.
No, so then I'll be
That's when you grab her elbow.
I'll be like,
flip her back around.
There's nothing I want more.
Okay. So you see her flush deeply at that.
Yeah.
And she's like, very well, Mr. Wentworth.
Mm-hmm.
I will see you then.
Yeah, I'll pat her on the... I won't do that. I won't do that. But
all right, so much like the other days, you can take one activity for the day prior to dinner to spend your time and make a skill roll against. And if you remember, you had fencing, skeet shooting. You could spend time in the library or the smoking rooms.
Yeah, what could I do in the library?
Oh, also you have those books.
Yeah, I'll read those.
Okay, for the day until dinner?
Yep.
All right, they're pretty
dry.
No, they're not badly written because one of them, the first one is mostly about the background of learning about Irem and what he could suss out from what is in record that mentions it, which was very little.
Yeah.
So a lot of what he does is he recounts, different rumors from Bedou tribesmen and whatnot about a supposed city in the desert. And how more often than not, it was spoken of as being a cursed city, but occasionally a city of gold, right? As is illustrated by that story from 1001 Arabian Nights.
Right.
The second book is more of like a travelogue of his attempts to travel into the Rub al Khali and how he was met with the harsh reality of that environment and failure, for various different reasons. But you can complete a reading of one of them before dinner, which will gain you an experience check in history and anthropology.
Okay.
So just check those two for finishing that book.
All right. Okay.
All right. And then on to dinner, which is expertly prepared. Again, you are, joined with Lady Waverly and a few other random, ship passengers. More of the same, high-flying doctors and artisans and businessmen. And it's kind of, for somebody in your experience, remembering like all the names and little details, it can get kind of dizzying in a way. But it passes without much event, and now you are at the dance. What kind of dancer are you, Mr. Wentworth?
Well,
Military
I
formal.
have a dexterity of 60,
Okay.
so I'm probably just a passable.
Well, you have two options you can try. You can the dancing skill falls under art/craft, so that would be at a base 5%. And if you succeeded, you get a skill check, or you could just leave it to your dex at the hard level, because the dance ends up being the kind that they teach people in high society, so like waltzes and things of that nature, which
Yeah.
have a degree of precision that don't, fly in the saloons and stuff
Right.
you were used to being in.
Well, I guess I'll just give it my best shot with dexterity.
Okay.
I don't do very well.
Dude,
Did you want to use 46 luck?
No, I do not.
you got to keep Brandon's characters away from any dances. He will cause like international incidents when he hits the floor.
So basically, what occurs is you just don't know any of these dances. So you have to try to take the lead of your partner. But in these cases, she's not the leading partner. So
Yeah.
you can't do that. So you have to try to catch out of the corner of your eye what other men are doing as their role in this particular dance. And it's just too hard of a combination of physical dexterity and learning on the fly to do very well. And this deeply embarrasses Lady Waverly.
All right.
She only entertains it for so long before she says, perhaps we should go take a stroll on the promenade.
Okay. Yes, I agree.
And she's glancing around. In just the few days you've known her, you can see there's a sort of a narcissism there,
Yeah.
where she's always concerned about what other people must be thinking. And so she's glancing at the other people who weren't really paying that much attention from your point of view, but
Yeah.
it just deepens her embarrassment when she looks at the other people and you guys hustle out onto the promenade.
All these dances are much different in Mexico.
Well, perhaps you will have to show me one sometime in private, away from here.
Yeah.
But if you were hoping for more affection tonight, Mr. Wentworth, looks like she's
blew
on
that
ice.
one, didn't I? Yeah. All right. Well, I'll toss her over the railing.
Starts bobbing next to John's character.
All right, Mr. Stanton, day 3 aboard the SS Osterley. An announcement went over to the rooms in the morning that was an apology for the delay, but loading passengers from Italy kind of put you behind schedule a little bit, so you wouldn't be arriving in Alexandria today, but rather early tomorrow. But fear not, no additional charge will be charged. Yes.
No additional fee will be incurred.
You're right. Yeah, your passage is fully paid for in the event of delays, which honestly are fairly common with both ship and train, because there's always one person when they're trying to board.
Those damn Italians.
But today your steamer travels near the shores of Tripolitania, which is in northern Africa. Currently there's under the control of the Italians, but you see these cliffs, and then beyond it, like a yellow smudge of the North African desert, sort of a prelude of things to come in a way. And the steamer hugs close to that. Well, as close as a ship of that size would dare to do. But you see land the entire day. All right, so yeah, just like Mr. Wentworth, you can take an activity for that day and maybe make a skill roll. If you need a reminder, you have fencing, skeet shooting, shuffleboard.
Yeah, I'll go more shooting. What
Okay.
does shuffleboard do? Is it not skill roll?
It's
Is it
more
just
of a
passive?
social
Okay.
opportunity.
Yeah, Stanton's social graces are much to be desired. So yeah, I'll just try. I almost got a skill up last time on
That's true.
on that gun, so we'll do some more skeet shooting here.
Okay. All right. Congratulations. Let's see if you can best one of your opponents today. Very likely, as you are more skilled than he is. He's just the stranger. Oh, he got a hard success. You still get a check, nevertheless.
Okay.
You had a brief period of time where some of the folks walking about on the deck were admiring your skill at destroying skeet clay. But there was another guy who outdid you at the end of the day. But anyhow, So that's it. For tonight, they are showing another movie, of which we've already learned you are not interested in. So you also have the evening free to haunt the smoking rooms or what have you.
Before I head to the smoking room, I will procure about a shot of Irish whiskey from a bar.
Okay.
And I will head to the brig with Ibrahim if he's about.
Yeah.
To pay Flanagan a visit.
Yeah, Ibrahim is usually always about, but
Lurking.
he'll just kind of check and then go off and do his own thing throughout the day. So yeah, you can head down there with Ibrahim after you get that shot to the brig where, now the sons of Vanya and your 2 machine gunners are looking a bit
Let's make it a bit more than a shot.
Okay.
Let's actually make it I don't want a full bottle. I don't want them getting sloshed, but a decent amount, and cups if able.
Okay. Yeah. No, it's definitely doable. But they're looking a little disheveled as they've been sleeping in the same thing, basically on the cell floor.
Is the boy there?
Yeah, he's there now.
Okay.
He's in with your 2 men because they only have the 2 cells, but they're currently playing some type of game. They could come up with what they had on hand. It's like a button here and this there. There are some sort of stakes at play, but you don't know the nature of it. But they're all 3 sort of interested in that. But they look up when you come in with your cups and your little bit of whiskey and Ibrahim, of course.
Flanagan.
Boss.
What's my other guy's name?
That you wouldn't be bringing that drink down here for me, would you?
What's his name? Is it
Marco? Yeah.
Marco?
Boss.
I would indeed, Flanagan. Can't have you drying out. Makes you shaky on the gun.
Yeah, right you are, boss. You're a capital fellow.
I'll motion the Redmir's sons over as well.
Yeah.
And I'll pour out about a shot for everyone.
Oh, boss, they don't need no drinks.
No,
Save
they
that for
do.
us.
They do.
I'll pour a shot out for the boy too.
Okay.
You're a man now. You've done your time.
He kind of takes it and he sniffs it.
Don't do that. That's always a mistake.
All right, well, what do we cheers to?
Well, we're, was it off the coast of northern Africa? Always a beautiful place.
To North Africa.
And I'll cheer them. And what is it? I wouldn't know it, but I'll hold up my glass to the Redmir's boys as well.
Right. Yeah, they all do. They say, what do Russians say? I forget now.
Yeah,
for their toast. Do you remember?
No.
For some reason, I only got the Bert Kreischer, Vashpuch, or whatever it was he said.
I'm just thinking of Vikings in school. Anyhow, doesn't matter because they're just giving me the literal Russian writing. Salute.
No, that works.
That's Spanish. Yeah, so they all toast. Whether that does anything for the tension between the boys and the men, you can never say. And likely Ray will wipe all of that away by the end of the day.
But
because he was just getting ready to gloat that.
Yeah.
Where's Daddy? Huh?
Yeah. No, that's fine. It's not for me smoothing over stuff between them. It's for me keeping the peace between their dad and myself.
Yeah. Gotcha. It's a smart play.
So, how are they treating you down here, Flanagan, Marco?
Not tree meals. Can't complain.
Yeah.
Let it be, boss. I ain't gonna change this old dog. Yes, but you get the impression that they're treating them well. Marco doesn't complain about anything, ever. He's a solid and dependable guy.
Wake up and chew gravel.
Right.
Okay.
Just not too outside of the box as far as his ability to problem solve, but, that's kind of perfect for what he does. So, and then the boy is too busy, spluttering from the shot of whiskey to engage for the next little while.
Clap the poor child on the back. Can't have him dying on us. All right.
So we should be arriving today, huh?
No, delay. Thanks to the Italians. I'll shoot the boy a look.
Oh, Mother Mary. It's like, it wasn't my fault. it secretly was. He was part of the hang-up.
Yeah.
He delayed a passenger by thieving something while they were boarding, and the well-to-do passenger wouldn't allow the ship to depart until it was found. Anyhow, that's an aside.
But never mind that. We'll be arriving shortly, nonetheless. What is it? Was it cards that got you in trouble this time, Flanagan?
Well, I don't know if it got me in trouble. Got them in trouble, and they got mad about it.
I'll see that some dice are brought to you. Do not play with them on the other side of the bars. Keep it amongst the cell.
Yes, righto, boss.
Righto, indeed. All right.
Okay, and then from there you were going to head to the smoking room?
Yeah. I'll see about adding the boy to the list when I try to get Flanagan and
Right, yeah.
Ramiro or Marco
Okay.
out of their bind.
It's actually a problem it's been in the back of your head. You hope that you know a guy there at the port of Alexandria.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, just this year, Egypt has officially gained its independence from under British control. So that could have been a shakeup on things. So you could also attempt a law roll because you know that, or an EDU, because they're still using British common law even though they're independent. It's formed the basis of their new civil society.
Ooh, okay, yeah. Education it is. Stanton was never one for the law, yeah.
Right. Well, you're not sure what they'll do. I think you have the idea that this will be a British common law tinged with, Muslim belief system, so it might be a little harsher in some respects. But you're not sure in cases of assault or things like that what they'll do. But if it were the British, you think maybe worse comes to worse, you
Neutral
can just
combat.
bond them out.
Yeah.
And maybe they don't make their court date, but that's a problem for a different day.
Yeah. What was it? I have potentially two separate
Yeah, the
chances.
Captain Anderson,
Yeah.
did I say that was his name on it? He gave
Yeah.
you Maximilian or Maxwell Todd, a captain in the British garrison there. Okay, so as far as your smoking room time, you do have the opportunity to ply a social skill with people that are gathered there if you wish, but you don't have to by any means. It's not.
Yeah. No, like it's one of those where like I would prefer to roll like navigate and not take a check if I succeeded
Right.
type thing and just regale them with scenery from Africa and various expeditions I've been on.
Yeah, well, you can definitely do that because Captain Anderson will call a few people that he knows about and, explain who you are, and they'll want to hear some of that. So you can go ahead and do that.
All right. Oh, I'll spend 3.
Okay. So, yeah, you impress a few of the passengers, Mr. Sullivan, businessman, and a Derek Clark, psychologist, apparently, with these stories, and they ask for your information. Perhaps they'll utilize your services in the future, drum up some more business that way. All right, call that the end of day 4 and move on to day 5. Mr. Wentworth aboard the RMS Mauritania. Tonight, there is a masquerade ball. Again, Lady Waverly is quite insistent that you go.
Is there going to be dancing?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. She says, most certainly not. There will be no dancing.
But you're going to end up with a ring on your finger if you're not careful.
I'm detecting an attitude.
Sorry, is the game master
Lady
just didn't
Waverly?
sell it? No. It would be my great honor if you were to.
Yes, it would. Well, I'll make her roll a cigarette for me.
Okay. That was like a test.
No, it's just women are better at it. Their fingers are smaller.
So you're kind of
So I'm,
doing
like,
it or whatever.
fumbling
Can you
with
do-
it,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Yeah, she's decent enough at it.
Yeah. Okay. A masquerade, huh? So what do I need? A mask?
I think if I understand correctly, they'll hand them out
Okay.
at our arrival before we enter the ballroom.
All right.
But I greatly appreciate it. So now you can see that the frost from the night before has thawed a bit,
Yeah.
but you still have some work to do at
Okay.
this masquerade ball. But we're not there yet. You have your day. And did you want to finish reading the other
Yeah.
section of that?
Yeah.
Okay, so finishing up the other book of that pair will give you a check in natural world. And that is because it brings more into the ways he would solve certain problems in the natural world, and navigation experience checks in.
Okay.
Because it was about the nuts and bolts of him trying to move men and camels in an inhospitable terrain, and some of the ways he solved that.
Okay.
You know, meaning you might retain some of this when you have to solve a similar situation. Or more likely, Stanton is solving it, and you would be doing a aiding role.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so now we come to the masquerade ball where, again, you're in your penguin suit, and you meet up with Lady Waverly outside, and then you head in where, you know, some wait staff are handing out masks, and they're of all different kinds, you know, you just random which one you get. But in your mind's eye, what mask do you imagine Wentworth would get?
If I can find any that looks Mexican,
Okay.
that has like a Mexican look to it,
Maybe like
or even Spanish, if you know.
like
But
kind
it'd
of
be
a sugar
cooler if
skull
it
type
was-
thing?
Yeah, something like a native
Right.
Mexican sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so you get one like that. Waverly gets sort of one that's meant to look like a bird of some kind, where it has a real prominent nose portion to it. And these masks, as far as like keeping people's identity, don't really work very well if you know who that person is, or if it's at a distance, it might work. But so yeah, they're just over the eyes and whatnot. And you guys head in, and it's basically the same thing you've been doing anytime you've just been hanging out chatting, but for some reason you're doing it now with masks and drinks. And it does seem to kind of free people up to move outside of the circles that have been established so far on this journey. But, you know, for both you and Stanton in these situations, Stanton at least lives partially in the world, but my guess is that it's, of the two worlds he's in, it's the one he would be less comfortable in. You're not even in there at all ever.
Never.
So there's sort of this disbelief when you juxtapose a memory of you in the Mexican desert versus this, or the people you would see live the lives that they led down there, and then you have this. So it's just kind of bewildering to imagine that this whole people's lives is going on trips, going to people's manors, and doing this all of the time, you know, aside from their state duties. But you make your conversation, and Lady Waverly stays pretty much at your right side the whole time. Give me a spot hidden roll.
All right, there you are. Spot hidden. Extreme success.
Okay. So there's a man with a strong chin, but other features you can't ascertain because of the mask, who kind of comes up on Lady Waverly's side. And, you know, she's wearing a dress that leaves her shoulders bare, and he kind of traces a finger along the back of her shoulders, like walking around behind you guys. And you just catch that out of the corner of your eye. But he doesn't seem to be wanting to talk to her. He just does that, but then he comes up to you, and he gently rests his hand on your shoulder, and he kind of leans close, and he says, "Listen carefully, Mr. Wentworth. You have been given a business proposition. I strongly suggest you take it. I represent a group who had dealings with your master, Dr. Andrews. In those dealings, we came up a touch short. All is fair in love and war. This group also asks that you convey congratulations to your master. Per the agreement, operations have ceased in Boston. The forthcoming business proposal is but a token to symbolize goodwill going forward and to establish a more cooperative relationship in the future. Tell Dr. Andrews there are more things in heaven and earth than dreamt of in his philosophy." And then the man, assuming no, you know, like, "What are you doing?" or like, "Hey, who are you?" type stuff, he just starts the opposite way and rubs along her shoulder again.
How does she react to it?
She's just like, "Excuse me," like both times, right? But she's kind of looking at you like, why would you allow that?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't have it. Like, first of all, I'm like mind blown about what he just said.
Right, yeah.
But second, like the last way I need to make a fool of myself here again is by doing what my instincts would be, which is to, you know, punch him in the stomach.
Right.
Right. I mean, that's not like in my mind, that's not a thing that happens.
Right.
Right. That's like for saloons, but now I'm up with the high and mighty and they don't do that.
Yeah.
Right. So, I'll just like move her away, say, man, I think he might have had too much to drink.
Yeah. Well, you can see she's like, yes, that must be the case.
And
but
I'll put like me in between
right.
her and him.
Yeah, that does help a little bit that you kind of move her behind you. You're fulfilling the proper role, but the fact that you didn't punch his lights out, the frost is on a
Thickens.
little bit again.
Do you
But there's something else that you got with that extreme success. It's because you're wondering at what the guy's saying and, who he might be. You're trying to get, make a mental note of his strut, like the way he walks, something in his face that you might remember later because he's like heading back off into the crowd and is already almost gone. But they have a big, center place chandelier hanging down above you guys, and you just happen to catch his shadow cast on the wall before he heads out onto the promenade, and it is not the shadow of a man.
Shadow of a God.
If you can give me a sanity roll.
Yeah.
Oh.
Failure.
All right, so that's just a 1 that you lose,
Okay. Down to 54.
but there is an involuntary action.
I punch her in the stomach.
You make an involuntary movement. What kind of idea do you have? It could be like maybe you step back behind her, or like how do you see it playing out? I just don't. The thing I like when you guys come up with it is you have a better idea with a new character like Wentworth of what he would do. I just don't want to turn him into like a coward or a yelping idiot right away.
Yeah, right. If I see something that alien, probably my first instinct would be to like push her away and reach for my knife.
Yeah. So she's like,
right, like my bow, because I have that pocket. Remember?
right. Yeah.
So I'll pull my Bowie knife.
Yeah.
Not that I'm gonna give chase, but that's like my first thing.
Right.
Like
Arm yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so this guy disappears out into the promenade and therefore out of sight. And you just caught that glimpse of just a shadow that did not look like a man shadow. Of course, now that he's gone, you could say, well, shadows elongate and stretch, but there's a part of you that remembers it very well. And that wasn't the case. It was that the arms were so much dreadfully longer than they should have been, and the head shape was all wrong.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
would I recognize this? Like, do you think Dr. Andrews would have told me about this?
That's
Probably I wouldn't think so.
Yeah, that's up to how you would want to play Dr. Andrews. What I can say that we have established at the table in regards to the consortium at the end of season 2 is that you were keeping an eye on them via ANW Private Investigative Agency, and you had seen that it did seem that the activities, at least where you knew where to look for them, had gone under the surface as far as the consortium goes.
Okay. Yeah, so like I would think that Dr. Andrews might have told me that much, like a consortium.
Yeah.
I don't think Dr. Andrews would have told me the specifics of the unnatural, supernatural.
Right, because how could you tell it in a...
Right, it's not going to make
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of where he might is that he picked up the phobia about, or the mania, I think it is, to kill
Oh, yeah.
snakes, basically.
Yeah.
Snake people. Is that if he, for some reason, was in a low mania state about it, he might have divulged, cryptic comments.
There's no such thing as a good or decent
There's
snake.
snakes above us, Mr. Wentworth. Maybe that's what he said, but
Snakes and men's
just as
skin.
like, snakes can be a term to describe a double-dealing, backbiting person. So, but he says that, and now like you're remembering like an odd look in his face when he said it, and like this sort of will to convey more than just that. When he was giving you a warning
perhaps
about
even
something
a
or other.
fever
right
in his look.
So,
And he said to tell Dr. Andrews there are more things in heaven and earth.
Well, I can, if you want the exact thing, I'll just copy paste it for you.
Awesome.
I had to change the wording a little bit because you got the business proposition prior.
So do then I assume that that's talking about Whitehead or Whiteman?
You can make that assumption, sure.
Yeah.
I will neither confirm nor deny. All right, so yeah, you're left with that bewildering circumstance there, but the masquerade ball continues. Now, for the benefit of the player, you know that Dr. Andrews had come to understand, although it was beyond belief, that there was, and it was a new sort of term that mostly Monroe and Whitmire, of all people, were theory crafting, that there was some sort of terraforming program going on to make it more habitable for these snake people, and they had lots of influence in certain industry that would have made that possible, And it was a fantastical story to Dr. Andrews' mind that such a thing could be done on that scale.
Yeah.
And it was further invalidated by Whitmire, like coming out of the blue with a critical, like, I can't remember, like science role or something like that, with a piece of information about like research that would back that up from that time, right?
Right.
So you were just like, it was craziness, but not the main craziness that needed to be dealt with. But so that's just to bring the plot current for your benefit, Brandon. Of course, as it filters down to Wentworth, nothing is known of that, except now you've been introduced to a mysterious figure that makes an allusion to having interacted with Dr. Andrews in some way.
Yeah.
So.
And is obviously nefarious in some fashion, just because of his interaction with people.
So I've like pushed her at arm's length, and now I've got my big knife out.
So you're standing there with your big knife out, and a couple of beats pass without anybody really reacting to it. And Lady Waverly's the first, and she's like, "What are you doing? Put that away."
So I want to like try to play it off, like it was wrong of him to touch you like that, and I'm going to take care of it.
Okay.
Right.
This has a positive effect on her.
Yes, kill for me.
I'll show you how they do scalping. And,
the ruggedness of a man who would pull a knife in the middle of a masquerade ball is the kind of stuff she reads in her pulps.
Exactly. Yeah. But this is just, because she was disappointed that I didn't knock his lights out for touching her shoulder like that. So this, I'll try to play it off like that. Be like, oh, I'll take care of this.
Right. Well, the remainder of the ball goes well, and you can see that you have her in a very pliable state by the end of the event. And you can do with that what
Curtains blow.
Yes. And there should be a sand roll for this one. But there won't be. All right, Mr. Stanton, day 5. Not enough time on the boat to get another skill roll because you arrive at the port of Alexandria early in the morning. You anchor just outside the wave breakers for smaller ships to come along and ferry you onto the docks. The Austerley's too big to actually go into the port itself. You see one of Alexandria's iconic lighthouses is nearby. And you can also see as you approach that the quaysides are alive with spices, textiles, exotic fruits. Their scent even wafting over the sea breeze, which is not a good smell. It's a lot of fish and what have you. I'm sure you understand. In the city, you can hear distantly tram bells ringing and the clopping of horse-drawn carriages when you're on these little smaller ships coming into port there. And although Egypt has gained its independence, Great Britain still controls this port, and men from the garrison can be seen watching the Egyptian custom workers as they process the new arrivals. Customs is of little concern to you, as your papers should be in order for the ordnance you've brought along with you. That, or you'll have your logistics man's hide. The vicar's gun does raise a few eyebrows when they take a look to confirm it, but as that too is accounted for, the custom agents can do nothing but pass it through. Now, ordinarily, you would be on your way to board the express train to Cairo and booking a room with a good view of the pyramids by nightfall. Instead, you watch as ship officers pass Ray and Marco to Egyptian police custody, along with the sons of Radmir Vanya and the Italian boy. Mr. Vanya watches this as well, separate from you, with a dark countenance. According to the captain...
Oh, it looks like his people weren't able to immediately...
Right.
Okay, I see why he's got dark countenance on that. Okay.
According to the captain, they would be handed over to the Egyptian authorities, and from there they're tried under their version of British common law. So you can really do little at that point, but watch the exchange happen, and then once they're in their hands and you've cleared customs, that's when you can...
Yeah, disappear them from...
Hopefully get out there and work your magic. But there has been quite a bit of upheaval, even though the garrison is still controlling the port. In Alexandria itself, all matters of law have been handed over to the locals. So in order for your contact here to survive that transition, you will have to pass a hard credit check.
Ooh, alrighty. Extreme.
Very nice.
I think I'll, what do you have planned for that extreme?
Nothing.
Can I involve, Vanya?
Sure. What in what
like,
way?
I'd say like maybe his contacts are falling through,
Okay.
and what I will do is I'll walk over to him. This day I'm wearing a good suit and I'm having a cane.
Okay.
That I'm kind of just, tapping on the cobblestone or whatever as I'm walking over to him.
Well, Mr. Vanya, seems we shall see which one of us gets our boys out first.
Yes, it does.
I think it's all in good sport, don't you?
I suppose, and I'll not be accused of being a poor loser.
Win or lose, I do not think that comes into being with matters of family. I understand that we were unable to facilitate any sort of investment in my company or partnership, but perhaps in this we can both endeavor to work together for a brighter future.
I see. And what is it that you want from me?
Nothing in particular. I'll work my contacts, you work yours. I'll try to get your boys out if I succeed. You try to get mine out, and we'll just dust it off and call it a good day, a bit of fun.
I agree to this, Mr. Stanton.
I shake his hand. And Mr. Vanya, may the sun never set on your family.
Thank you, and yours.
And I'll turn and walk away and have Ibrahim,
Right.
Time to get to work, Ibrahim.
Yeah, Vanya just turns into a bat and flies off to his cat. So I start to go and do a Dracula type thing there. All right, yeah. So, so you know a guy, no problem. What is his name? He was a British Mr. Buford Rowe or Lieutenant Buford Rowe.
That's a different guy than the one that Anderson gave, right? So this is my own?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maxwell Todd was the guy that Anderson gave. So Lieutenant Rowe is the guy that you knew who worked here, and evidently, to your great luck, he is still a part of the Egyptian justice system here in Alexandria. Lieutenant, yeah, as part of the transference of full control, because the British were pretty good about that. So that was kind of like, at this point, a lot of times their main goal was for people to do their own thing, just the way they wanted them to do it.
So, Stanton might not be too keen on law. Would he be keen enough on when would the best time to try to facilitate a disappearance of people?
Well,
would it be better before they're actually booked, or
probably because that's more records, you know.
Right. Yeah.
But the booking, you probably might be already too late on. But generally, what happens? You guys arrived on a Friday, because they'll probably sit just in the jail there until they can have their arraignment and be formally, charged and bond posted and all that sort of stuff.
I guess I'll have Ibrahim invite him to lunch.
Okay. So much like Cairo, Alexandria is an ancient city. It's had multiple, phases of construction. And in Egypt in general at this time, they don't have like a good convention of actually naming their streets. Yeah. So one of the standard ways that this works is there's people called dragomen or dragomon perhaps, and they're just experts in the area. But you have been here through a number of times that you can, if you wish, attempt to do your own navigating in the city and find place to be and whatnot, or a specific place you want him to be. But most people or foreigners hire the services of these dragomen to take them to specific places and fetch them specific things, because it really is an absolute nightmare to get around as a foreigner.
I'll try to navigate. Doesn't mean I won't hire the Dragomon, because they might. I think that makes you a mark, but it also makes you a specific type of mark.
Yeah.
Right? It makes it like if you're just wandering around willy-nilly, other people might be more inclined to harass you. Especially
if you look lost. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they have people out here, soliciting their services that you walk by. You see a young man with the Coptic Christian cross tattooed, like on his bare chest. You see another fellow in the fez, obviously looks like a Brit, sort of a bookish-looking dude. But they're yelling their services, but you pass on by into the city with Ibrahim, and your men looking pretty good, all things considered, coming from the rest of them besides, Ray and Marco, who had gone off to jail there.
I think I'll give them a small amount to enjoy a brief respite. From steerage.
Right. How much did you want to give them?
How much do you think? 5? Figure that's enough for them to.
Yeah, and like U.S. dollars, I think that would come out to 1 Egyptian pound.
Okay.
And they spend like a lesser amount. I just can't remember what it is.
Pence.
Yeah, right. So that would translate into like 50 of those, I think. So that would be plenty for them to eat and, get to get something to drink. Although they don't really have much in the way of bars here.
Yeah.
Given the cultural difference. But
they'll just get out, stretch their legs.
Right. It would be one that would be short of them, like, say, booking a room or something. So it should be plenty, I would think.
And we're going to be here for 2 days? So I'll take care of the booking as well.
I think your original plan was just to go on to Cairo.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right, Cairo.
So it's however long it takes you to get Ray and Marco out and Vanya's sons.
So yeah, I'll have Ibrahim do that. No, I'll do it. And Ibrahim can go get Roe. That was the lieutenant's name, right? Buford.
Yep. All right. So that lunch is arranged between Lieutenant Roe, and he's a man in his 30s, and you guys meet up there at a little Alexandrian cafe. And a lot of people here, if they're not drinking coffee or tea, they're also chewing something called cat. And so that's like a big thing. You'll just see basically like chew. Their just cheeks are full of it. It's supposed to have a mild stimulant effect. And that's the kind of place this is. You get here for your mild stimulants, coffee, tea, cat, and, little pastries and whatnot can be had for as far as food goes. But there you meet Lieutenant Rowe, who, as I said, is a man in his 30s, British officer, and an expert in military law, and now aiding the Egyptians in setting up their own little justice system here, or the takeover of the justice system. And, he brightens up at the sight of you. It's been, you would say, 5 or 6 years since you saw him last, and he looks much the same as you remember him. It's like, Mr. Stanton, so good to see you.
Lieutenant Rowe, the pleasure's mine as well.
How was your journey here?
Cannot complain, save for passing through Italy, where they, as usual, caused a delay.
Yes.
Those damn Italians.
A whole country full of thieves.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. Caught one in my room.
Well, I'm glad you made it in one piece. I assume this is just not a casual call?
Unfortunately not. Some of my boys have been taken into custody.
Right.
They got in a little spat in steerage.
And what is it you need from me?
I'd like them to disappear from custody. Along with another set of boys, Russian well-to-do formerly.
Are they yours as well?
No, but they are acquaintances' sons that I met on the boat, and I'd like to keep the peace there, as my boys were part of the reason they ended up in the brig.
I see. And what charge were we talking about here?
Assault, over a game of cards.
Ah, that shouldn't be a problem. It will cost a little money, though.
Also, speaking of the Italian thieves, there's a boy in their presence as well that I'd like to see disappeared along with my men.
Yes, I think we can arrange all that. As I said, though, it will cost a little bit. Not much, but let me do some back of the napkin figuring here.
Slide it across.
Right. So it gives you a figure of 20 Egyptian pounds, which would, come out to, roughly, you think, like $90.
Let's see.
Of course, you could potentially negotiate it with a social skill.
No, I think I can charge...
to the account?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah. I guess it'll come out of cash until I'm able to get it repaid. Well, like 45 of it will come out of my spending. The rest will have to come out of cash, and then, whatever from there. Because we also probably need rooms, unless we're able to do this today.
Yeah. So he says, shouldn't be trouble. I believe that they were only probably booked today, I expect, since you just got off the boat.
Right off the boat.
Where should I send them once they're out?
Ibrahim,
Oh, has a place for him, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was asking for.
For
essentially.
Ibrahim.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can find. You'll probably have them out.
We're hoping to be on our way to Cairo by train as soon as possible.
Well, you might be able to catch the express in time. I'll work as fast as I can, but I can make no guarantees.
I ask for none.
Well, I better get to it, Mr. Stanton, if I'm to get them to you in time. He stands up and shakes your hand.
Yeah, then I'll walk back over to that, what are they called? The porters?
Oh, the dragoman?
Yeah, the dragomen.
Yeah, so they were out there barking. Like I said, you had two. The rest had been called away by other people, right? So which one do you like? The local with the Coptic Christian tattoo or the British
I don't know.
bookworm?
Okay. I don't know what the stigma is on tattoos in this era, but I do know the stigma on tattoos from my era.
Right.
So I don't know if I trust that man one lick, but
Right. Well, he also is Egyptian by the look of him as well. But then again, many British people have been in Egypt their entire lives, and so they're just as good as the locals.
yeah, for the most part, it doesn't matter. As long as he can speak a lick of English,
Yeah.
I'll take the Egyptian, tell him that I'm looking for a place near.
Well, actually, the Egyptian, he doesn't, but he writes in English. He just can't speak it very well.
Does Ibrahim?
Ibrahim does. No, Ibrahim. What language does he speak? Let's take a look. They might have a shared one though, because there's a lot of multilingual. All right, I guess I didn't list his, but I'm going to guess English, French, and Spanish, and German for Ibrahim, because he fought against the Germans, or with the Germans, I should say, against the British. So yeah, let's see what my guy speaks. Yeah, it's only Arabic, or he writes English better than he speaks it.
All right.
So it depends on what you're trying to communicate to him. He should be able to, like Chewbacca, kind of understand I need lodging or the basic questions.
Yeah, I won't even go for lodging. I'll just say I'm looking for a
Decent enough establishment to wait out my time until my train leaves.
Okay.
Near the train station, preferably.
Let me scroll away from that character. Yeah, he says you can call him Zaki,
All right, Zaki.
and he knows just the place. Follow me.
that would have been the Dragomon that I would have taken to here as well.
Okay.
The whole idea is he's essentially my cover.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, and he definitely weaves his way through these unmarked city streets and to a hotel. He kind of sized up the way you were looking and by your dress and stuff, and takes you to not like the fanciest of hotels, but a nice place. The British had put up a bunch of hotels in the European style here, and he deposits you in front of one of those with sort of that expectant moment of waiting after his services are done.
Yeah. A couple of my remaining pence.
You should be able to absorb by your daily spending limit. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you stand before that hotel, and we'll pause there with you. All right, Brandon. So this is for you, we're moving on to your sixth and final day in the open ocean of the Atlantic. Tomorrow, you should approach Southampton in Britain by the end of the day. Probably the early afternoon, you would expect, if the schedule is to be believed. As such, they've left the day entirely open for you to do what you want to do. They don't have any special movie screenings or dances or lectures or anything like that going on. It's just a day of relaxation before you have to depart the RMS Mauritania. So again, you can get out there and work a skill or, do something library, more socializing.
Yeah, I guess I'll just spend some time in the library.
All right. They have a modest but well-curated library here on the ship, and it's one of these things that's really open to the first-class passengers only. But so what kind of thing would Wentworth be interested in?
Well, see if they have any.
There's a common thing that small libraries might carry. You get, the equivalent of your supermarket paperbacks and stuff like that, just in this era.
Yeah.
They have lots of travel logs to various different places, and then many of the classics, as well as encyclopedias and what have you.
Yeah, so guess I'll see if I can find anything related to the area that we're going to.
To the Arabian Peninsula?
Yeah.
All right, give me a luck roll.
No luck.
Yes, nothing with specific details. I mean, you do find adjacent subject matter in deserts elsewhere, like the Sahara or what have you,
Yeah.
but nothing specific to that region. A little bit on the political, what do you call it, where things currently stand as far as the Levant goes. Levant or Levant?
Levant, yeah.
Yeah, like whose hands it is in. And you've heard some mumblings about it because it's been a big talking point for the high society lately because of the League of Nation mandates that have gone out and what will happen and what have you. So, but nothing that gives you any specific skill check. You don't find anything useful for that. And that day otherwise passes without much else
Okay.
to speak about.
All right.
And you are probably thinking it's about time too. This ship has run its course. And I think we'll actually stop here so I don't get too far ahead for John, if that's okay with you guys.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for game mastering, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for playing, guys.
It's having fun.
You're going to collect Russian oligarchs and Italian thieves.
One more man in Cairo, if that's where they're staying, isn't
Yeah.
a bad thing. They're going on the train too, aren't they?
This has been a Deathwatch production. Thank you for listening.